You are Black in the Green Room with me, your host, Keith Underwood. And this is your spot for real talk about entertainment with entertainers, creatives, and showbiz professionals. My guest today is the multi talented actress, dancer, choreographer, writer, producer, and the list goes on, Ms. Jasmine Guy. Jasmine, thank you for joining me in the room.
I appreciate it. I love that name, Black in the Green Room. That's
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah,
You
I appreciate that. I mean, it was a hard find, but we got there.
love it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tell you thank you so much. I had a great time at your Emmy celebration. It was great spending time with you and Miss Telma Hopkins. I just
I
had a really
know
fun time.
that was such a great party.
Yes, it
You know,
was.
Helena went to the other party before she came to ours.
Right.
And glad I went straight to because all my friends were there. My sister, it was just like a house party
Right.
almost. You just took over.
Right. And it was so funny because we ran into the star of Jessica Wu right as
Hell,
we were, yes, right as we
yeah,
were coming off the elevator. And it was crazy, but it was great to have a chance to meet her right
yeah.
before
So
right before leaving. Yeah.
she he was sitting, so it was me and then my sister, and Helena was sitting next to my sister and her dad was sitting next to her. And my sister said, if it wasn't for Helena going, that's us, I wouldn't have even known that was our category. I was so just having a good time and rocking and listening to everybody's speeches. And she's like, pay attention. And I was like, oh, you know, together, girl. I was
Right.
sitting there like I was watching it on TV,
Right, right, right. You were just sitting there, you kind of got
just
lost up in the moment,
out.
right?
We had on our little sparkly things. We were just like happy to be out again. Because
Right.
when I was doing A Different World, I went to those award shows all the time, and people sometimes people wanted to go with me, but it was usually my sister and my best friend Gigi. They'd
Right.
be plus one because they could handle what happens on the show. You know, they give you the award, then they take you backstage, and a seat filler sits next to your friend, your person.
Right.
So you have to be patient with the taping process. You know, we went to an Image Awards once that was like 4 to 6 hours. I don't know. But my sister was pregnant and she kept pulling that snack from her. So country, like little peanut butter crackers. And you know, all that wrestling with the cellophane. But I was like, no, it's been a long time. You getting hungry.
Right, right, right. That was your sister that was dancing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she was doing her thing.
She was having a good time. She has had two hip replacements.
Mm. You-
Really a celebratory because I was staring at her like, is she moving like that? Because you know, people have them and knee replacements, but the recuperation is different for everybody. Some people are like, I've never felt better. I was in so much pain before. Um, or I don't know. I was with her for both surgeries so that I could see the difference in the recuperative time. So for me to see her, I was like, and she had three dudes around her. I
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
dancing or if they were talking or if she was dancing by myself and they were just standing there watching. It, yeah, and it was great to see Daryl Bell. You know, when I hugged him on the red carpet, I just started crying because I said, this is
Hmm.
our Emmy.
That's right.
It
That's right.
really
Why
clear to
did
me
why did it feel that way for you?
because I think while we were doing the show, we never got props like that. And we just got used to not receiving it from white Hollywood. We were always blessed with Image Awards, Soul Train Awards, Arsenio Hall was crucial to us being able to get out there and talk and be ourselves, you know. But you know, getting on Letterman, getting on in fact they said, or this is the word that came back, was that I had been on Arsenio too much. So they didn't want me on Letterman. And I was like, so you hear these little things and it's like, I'm good. I don't need, but I don't hear that with our white counterparts. Our white
Mm-hmm.
counterparts are doing Letterman, Tonight Show, the next day Arsenio. They have access to everybody.
That's
You know,
right.
felt like it was very clear who our support system was and who was making sure that we got covers of magazines. I was on Essence cover twice, once by myself and then once for the love issue
The
with
love issue. Come on now.
February.
Ain't nothing wrong with love. Ain't nothing
Look,
wrong with love.
I
Yeah.
have a lot because when we first well, first of all, the first time I worked with Kadeem and Daryl was on School Days. We filmed School Days before we got A Different World.
Right.
It's Robbie Reed brought us into those A Different World auditions from working with us on School Days. But he was like 19. I
Yeah.
was 5. I kind of saw him as a little brother, you know.
Right.
But we grew up in this relationship together. And when they put Whitley with Dwayne in that second season, I was like, oh my gosh, I do not buy this based on created in the first season.
Right.
Like she wouldn't go out with an underclassman. She'd be with a teacher's aide or something. I don't know.
Right.
So worked on it and being able to work with an actor honestly without an actor being sensitive to, a
Mm.
lot of actors don't like to get notes from other actors. They only want their notes from the director. And
Right.
they're for that. I can understand that. But Kadeem and I really had a very open actor relationship and a beautiful friendship, because I was able to say, look, we got to make this believable. And I don't believe it yet.
Yeah.
If you're going to kiss me, then you got to grab me. He said, okay, I just didn't want to. I want to show no disrespect. I said, he was being very respectful because
Right.
we didn't have that type of relationship. I said, no, we got to sell this. We got to make this work. So
And
I
you guys
love,
were able to do that.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Let's go back a little bit. Your life and career in entertainment, I mean, it really is unprecedented. When you look back on everything that you've accomplished and everything that you continue to do, what thoughts come to mind?
well, I say this a lot because this is what I would do. I used to have a mantra in my head when I was getting disrespected.
Mm,
And I would say the mantra so that I didn't show my emotion or respond in an inappropriate way. Um, but every time I was told I couldn't do something, for example, I was a dancer and I was on Broadway for, I don't know, 6 years, and I danced with Alvin Ailey. There was that, well, she's a dancer thing
hmm.
for time. She can't sing or she can't act. Um, but I consequently was able to do that because I would always go what Debbie did. Whatever I was trying to do, Debbie had
Hmm.
already done it.
You had
While
an
they
example.
can't do it. Yes, she was a dancer. She became a director, producer, writer, creator, choreographer. You know what I mean? When I did Fame, with Debbie, it was for the TV show. She had like 3 lines in the movie.
Hmm.
And from the movie, she becomes a choreographer and lead actress on a TV show. So I'm watching it ahead of me while they're saying, oh, well, you're really more theater than TV, or you're more this than that. I'm like, you don't know me. And
That's
Debbie,
right.
but that's what I would say to myself, just so I didn't, respond inappropriately. Um, and so that's what I thought about a lot is like having to know yourself, you know. Um, I had to sing for Debbie in the back of a limo because when I told her I wanted to leave Fame and go back to New York and dance with the company I was in the second company at Ailey, and I felt like they were going to give my slot away. And I didn't think
Mm,
I was stay out in LA. A lot of the dancers did. And she said, well, what do you want to do, Miss Thing? Like, you already got a teacher, and you go back to where I said, I'm going to be like you, because I can sing and I can act. And, I was like, I played Anita when I was 13. She
Right.
said, sing. And she made me sing for her right there in the limo, all loud. I'm a loud singer.
From such a little body. So
Yeah. And like, okay. When we did Fame, she didn't know I could sing,
hmm
you know? So when I claimed her like that, and then, when we did Red Table Talk, Jada said a similar story that she walked into the audition. She said, I'm going to be the next Debbie Allen. That's old of Baltimore, but just bold.
Right, right, right. What was it like growing up in a home with not one but two educators, and then one of them was a pastor? What was that like?
Well, we got corrected constantly, so that was just a given, even to this day. You know, our English,
My
my
mother
mother
does that too.
teacher, so she corrected my papers that had already been corrected her way. Because I think I got an A plus on something. She said, "Let me see that." She redlined it, made me write it over. Um, but I appreciate that in a lot of ways. I feel like I was homeschooled because
hmm
you could ask either of my parents anything and they would know it. The meaning of a word, historical references. I had trouble understanding Shakespeare. My mother read it out loud to me and tried to give inflection where I couldn't understand. So I particularly love that part of it. And my father, as pastor of Friendship, was familiar to me. He had a church also in Port Chester before we moved to Atlanta. So I was used to being in the church family. You know, when I was really little, sleeping on ladies' laps while he did his sermon because my mother was home with the baby,
hmm
and Sundays at different people's homes. And just for me, church was also family and community. Very loved and supported in both of those churches. So I had a positive experience. I
Yeah.
think people think that because there were teachers and ministers in my family, because my grandfather was a minister too.
Wow. You had them all
Um,
around you.
yeah, the way my father and my mother were liberal, and they had two mixed kids.
hmm
So there were a lot of conversations in our home that I think like some of my friends couldn't believe were as candid as they were.
hmm
You know, one of my friends said, I couldn't believe the way y'all talk to your mother and your father. We never talked like that at the dinner table. We were almost expected to share something, and
hmm
not and we had to watch the news. And if we had to have so we were a storytelling family. My mother's telling, first she was teaching at Thurl, then she was at North Fulton, then she was at Northside. And she always had stories.
hmm
And I don't know, I think that storytelling was just part of the way we communicated.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I told them to stop correcting my English or I'm not going to finish my story. Because I was saying he be, we be, she be, and they kept going am, are. I'm like, I know what it is, but it's part of the story. It's not gonna separate,
right. Yes.
you
What
know. I'd be like, and then he'd be like, and they would just, you have to stop talking like that. I said, well, I'm not telling the story. It's not gonna be funny if I talk. Like, y'all trying to get me killed at school.
Yeah, but what did that discipline, growing up, how did that contribute to your success?
Well, when I was 12 and I had a very serious conversation with my dad, and I told him that after having seen Alvin Ailey, um, I said, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to dance with Alvin Ailey. I said, I think it's my calling, and
hmm
this is the way I can communicate. And then, you know, I was a good dancer, but they didn't know I was going to be a dancer. That was a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother, you know. Um, and then from that point on, we just ramped up everything, my lessons. Um, I went to, I danced at Spelman Dance School when they had one, and we used to walk across the campuses to gymnastics and dance lessons and Spelman at the gym there. And then I went on to Ruth Mitchell Dance School. And when I got into Northside School of Performing Arts, I was a dance major. And then I danced at Atlanta Ballet because I realized that my technique as well, I quit point when I was 11 because I hated it. And so I
Right.
had been barefooted when these little girls on point had been dancing on point since they were 9,
Mm-hmm.
and start all over, at 14 with little 9-year-olds, getting on point because it gives you technique. There's no way you can do that and not have. And I saw that the Ailey dancers had that kind of technique. Whether they
Mm-hmm.
would it or not was irrelevant. They had a ballet trained base. And when we went to school at Ailey's, we took 5 different kinds of dance and ballet every day. Horton, modern dance, and Graham every day. And then um, we had African, we had point, we had partnering. I mean, we had dance all day long, dance from 8 to 10. But I was not even up to par with those New York kids when I got there.
Mm-hmm. But
I was determined. I knew that was my dream. The funny thing was when I did get into the junior company, it made me feel like I'm already getting my dream.
mm,
It was the same year I got there in the summer of 1979 on a scholarship. And during that summer, people left the workshop company and he replaced us for them, for the people that just left. So now I'm getting, a paycheck and I have a touring schedule and, it was like a dream. And I was at Illy's for 4 years. I left when I was 21.
that's so amazing, to me, to have that type of discipline, to have those types of experiences, and to have that motivation and that driving force to really go after your dreams.
It was such a given that it was hard for me to understand people who didn't know what they wanted to do.
Mm,
Father used to say, everybody doesn't know at 11 years old what they want to do. A lot of people take the time in college to develop, see the world. So it's not unusual that people don't know early because if you know early, then I'm directed. I'm already directed. But if you're doing, volleyball, piano, you're on the newspaper. Like my sister had many interests and she did them all well.
hmm.
But I don't know that it was I don't know that I can do everything well at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I've done, jobs when I've been singing, dancing, and acting, that's
Hmm.
another that's another frame of mind from concert dance. Um, and when I did my album, now I'm just singing. That's a whole nother head, another um environment, language,
Hmm.
being, in a studio and working with producers and writers. So I tend not to try to do everything at the same time, you
Yeah.
know, because I want to be present and very focused. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess I only have one child. So I was like, more than split, I'm just gonna be like, what? Melt down and not do anything.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about school days. And as you said, when you've been booked to do multiple things, you've done them and you did it excellent in the film. But what I want to know is what were your thoughts on colorism before and then after school days?
Well, I did not understand that that was still an issue. It sounded like a 1930s paper bag test kind of thing.
Hmm.
again, I didn't go to college, so I didn't know that that still existed. Um, and then to have to portray um, a light skinned person that has a disdain or a detachment from my brown sisters, that was very difficult to most,
Mm,
because a lot of us came from musical theater because we had to sing, dance, and act. So I
right.
had worked with for the Jigaboos in Bubbling Brown Sugar, in The Wiz, in Fame, and they were my friends.
Hmm.
And they when they separated our, did you hear about the hotel thing?
Oh
That
yeah, where they put you
okay, so they went
the
to
brown
Ramada.
girls and the light skinned girls in separate rooms, and they put you guys in the nice ones.
Yeah, I mean the Ramada Inn wasn't bad, but I was called the Regency Suites, and I, I just thought that was extra. I thought, I don't have to be it to play it. What if I
Hmm.
play? What if I'm playing a crack hoe? Do I have to try crack and see what it's like? Like, I didn't understand that. I thought if you can act, you can act. But in Spike's defense, we were all new. A lot of us, that was our first movie.
Hmm.
Other than Giancarlo and Lawrence and those, the principals, we were coming from theater. Some people weren't even from theater, they could just sing, you know. So maybe that's why. And he wanted to show a certain kind of, I guess, a cliquishness that you have when you're in a
Right.
sorority.
Yeah.
You only do things with your sorors and all that. It was a little foreign. I was always at the Ramada Inn, though. I was hanging. I
You just
was like,
stayed
we're
there.
going to eat. But the experience itself was interesting because I didn't understand to the degree that that still existed until I talked to other people um, that went to HBCUs or that had that frat sorority life,
Yeah.
and what this one's known for and this group's known for. And um, so that was interesting. I learned a lot. Of course, we had a ball. We partied every weekend.
Right.
Like, it's a Capricorn party. It's a Pisces party. It's a Mike party. It's
Any
a party.
excuse to
Any
party.
excuse.
Right, right, right. Yes.
It's
Good,
so,
good.
it's like going down memory lane.
Right. That's a good thing sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because saying that when I was in my 20s, early 30s, and going to award shows, my career was ahead of me.
Hmm.
So I didn't have a lot of stories, because I was in it. And now I have all of the, 40 years to look back on.
Yes.
And I really just want to thank all the people that poured into me, my teachers, my mentors, people that hired me. My manager I've known since I was 18,
Wow.
and he's still my manager. He was my agent, then my manager, then my agent. It was a weird history, but we were always together. And to have somebody in my life that has similar sensibilities, because we grew up together and we both came from New York, and that we had a New York sensibility as opposed to necessarily a Hollywood sensibility, you
Right.
know. Um, so all of those things, because it does take a lot. People pour into their students.
Mm.
And when I reflect on the times I got pulled, aside or out of the room or checked in on, or,
Hmm.
what's going on with you? I was away from home for the first time too. I was living with my aunt and my uncle, trying to be a big girl, and I wasn't
Yeah.
sharing how homesick I was and how lonely I was,
Yeah.
those things. So yeah, it was interesting. I can remember those talks and how much I appreciate it, because
Yeah.
you've got 100 students in the dance school like that. We had 50 people in each class. It was a very for it to be that big. It was very warm and intimate for me.
Yeah. When you look back at Whitley, how did you keep her from becoming a caricature?
Mm. I did worry about that first season because um Kadeem and I only had 7-episode contracts when we first got on. So at
That's
any given
amazing to even
time,
think about.
but people were getting relieved a lot during that time too. They were playing with the characters. Because remember, Loretta Devine was our dorm mother.
Right.
So all of that was going on, and it was the most tense situation because actors don't know if they're funny or not. They don't know if they're going to come to work the next day. So made for that kind of, and by the time we got to episode 6, Kadeem and I were like, what you think? Are we
gonna make
be-
it? Are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it?
So I realized after they did not release us that I had to find ways to deepen that character because it was going to be dynamite every time I said Dwayne, or knew the accent was making things funnier than they were. So I just tried to monitor myself, add some other color to the same moment that I might have done the week before, but just not as predictable because I didn't want them waiting for the accent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, I knew that wouldn't have longevity.
Yeah.
And the very first show that they gave me where I could show dimension was with Keisha Knight Pulliam, where she comes to visit Denise Huxtable, her big sister, and they need to visit her. And that was the first time I got to show other sides of this character. And the little one brought it out. She was so easy. She was following me around off camera too.
That's so sweet.
That's so cute.
Yes.
And knew mines and hers. I was still she knew her mark. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna learn a lot from you.
Right.
She said, I'm learning a lot from you. Like, okay.
Just hearing that very tender, side of Jasmine Guy. And this was at a time that you were moving into one of the pinnacles of your career. What was the biggest misconception about you during that time period?
Well, that I was like Whitley. That
Mm.
was so, and I am light skinned, so that was just like an old pet peeve of mine that people would assume that I'm not down or I can't do this or I think I'm better than people, you know, without getting to know me. So the irony of playing somebody that I tried so hard not to be associated with. I didn't hang out with girls like that.
Right.
But there was Jack and Jill. I just wasn't in it. So it was kind of a foreign thing for me. I thought I created Whitley until I started really at the Vineyard is when I first realized there's this whole upper class Black community that has been there for themselves for generations because there's nowhere to send their kids or spend because they're coming from, the late 1800s. And they're the first Black doctor at Harvard. They're the first Black everything. And where do those people go and hang out? So historically, it kind of made me give that echelon more credence. And it's not just about color, even though it seems like it's mostly light-skinned people, because you have Du Bois and certain Franklin Powell, certain very light-skinned men, but there was a lot of brown, educated men, writers, Paul Laurence Dunbar. So I love that the show A Different World created different sides of being Black. Like if I had been the only Black character on a white show playing that Whitley character, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I knew they would balance Whitley's commentary.
Yeah.
That her commentary would be funny and in character for her, but Kimberly Reese is going to say what's right. Dwayne is going to say what, Freddie's going to, you know what I mean?
There was that balance there.
There was diversity of Blackness. Not just one, and you got to do everything and dilute your character. We were all able to really go for the meat of our characters.
Is with being Black, is there any symbolism behind winning multiple NAACP awards?
Um, well, for me, it was very edifying,
Hmm.
and to win for every season on the show. Um, I was grateful for that platform. I always made sure I knew what I was going to say, who I was going to talk to, maybe various people, since I had multiple times to say things, um, my appreciation or whatever. It's like I grew up going on that show and learned how to do award shows because of that show. The
Yeah.
whole arena. Um, and then I loved going because you meet everybody.
Right.
There go Quincy Jones. Act like act like we belong here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Virginia Capers. She used to, you remember Virginia Capers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she used to say all the time that the success to being a star is not acting like a fan.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
clever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very clever. So, how when you were working on Dead to Me, and this is a little bit of a morbid question, was it hard not to think about death all the time?
Oh my gosh. So Dead Like Me is about Grim Reapers or Reapers
Yes.
called that are kind of stuck between the human life they left and going beyond. And we have to pull the souls from people before they're traumatized. So it's some kind of tragic deaths that's about to happen. Anyway, so oh my goodness, we talked about it all the time because we had to get the mythology right, whatever the mythology was. And so sometimes I'm like, so can we see the gremlin people or do we not see them? Or so all of those had to be addressed. So we're all doing the same thing and creating that. But I love doing that show. It was so much fun. And I just felt like never would this crew of motley reapers come together in another show. We were all so different. And usually, um, and it was cleverly written, and I love sci-fi. I couldn't wait to like see the computerized version of what we were doing because we didn't see
Yes.
a lot of it until we saw the show. Um, but what was the question?
No,
Oh,
I
did
was
we talk
just
about Death Alive? Yeah. So we did talk about that, and we wondered what happened to Reapers that did go on, and we wanted to see what the optics would be. Are they walking into light? Are they jumping off a cliff and never returning? All of us died at different parts of the history of like I died in the 80s. I was strangled by a leg warmer. My roommate, I created the leg warmers by cutting off the socks in my tights, and she got I took was taking the idea from me and strangled me with the leg warmer. And
Hmm.
then another character was British, and he drilled a hole in his head to create a fontanelle. That was something they did in the 60s to enhance their drug high. And then Mandy died. He was like a bank robber in the 1800s. So it was interesting to see how we died. And I loved all the actors. It was dark, but it was funny. I
Hmm.
always felt like it was, one of the funnier shows that I did because it wasn't on the nose kind of humor. It was more droll.
Yeah. With the Chronicles of Jessica Wu, where we're at right now, the main character is a superhero, but also autistic. Was that the autism element of it? Was that part of the draw for you to the show?
Well, I did like the fact. Well, first of all, this is Iron Beard is a production company, a husband and wife, black company in Hollywood, and the
Nice.
fact they had produced this series and it was already on the air or whatever. I don't know if it was a webisode first, and I'm not really sure if I'm using the right terminology, but so they had already been working. I was really a guest star in a couple of episodes. Um, And the autism piece, I wasn't interested in, because I thought this is, because she's playing an autistic person in the movie. It shows all the various sides of the spectrum, and they have a foundation called Autism Future Autism, or Autism Future, and they dedicate their work to that because their daughter has autism. So they're tying in their artistic work with their philanthropic piece. So I did like that part of it as well. And working with them was cool. Everybody did everything. They didn't have any big budget. Like, I was in a scene, then I changed, I came back, and the guy playing my boss was the director. I said, what's up? And so his wife was directing. I said, I thought you did wardrobe.
Right. They had to do it
That kind
guerrilla style. Yeah.
yeah, they were like, look, we gonna get it done and it's gonna look good, you know.
Yeah. Jasmine, is it hard for Black folks to get nominated and, heaven forbid, win an Emmy?
Is it hard?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Because I really wasn't thinking about it anymore. I might have thought about it, 35 years ago or something, but I watched them and I root for people, but I don't know if that was really what we were trying to do. We focused on as I told them, the work is going to last past that awards.
That's right.
If they don't recognize us for being the number 2, 1, 3 show for 6, 7 years, we have to recognize it for ourselves. And we have a standard to maintain. We may not get those kind of accolades. Like when you see a show like Friends and they're getting best ensemble, and the actors are getting their own series and movies, it's a launching pad for them, where you didn't launch us. You didn't allow us to have those opportunities. We've been hustling for a long time, So I think it's kind of that hustle. There's a part of us that has to continue to hustle. We're not just laying home reading scripts and deciding who we want to work with or not, And a lot of us that do multiple things to make things happen.
Yeah. What was special for you about this outstanding actress in a short form comedy or drama series Emmy Award? What was special about it for you?
Was that I got this nomination from the Little Engine That Could project, that because
that's truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, when I got calls about being nominated, first I thought people were messing with me. And then when I talked, I think I was talking to my aunt, and I said, for what? I thought it was for Harlem, because I'm a guest star on that.
Right. And doing a great job.
I was like, it's for Chronicles of Jessica Wu? And they got me an Emmy nomination. Now, the other time that happened, I did a short film called My Nephew Emmett, and it's about the last night of Emmett Till, when I played his aunt, where they dragged him from the home. But nominated for an Oscar. So these little movies and shows, they're full of quality.
It's like you were saying earlier, it's about the work. It's about the work.
And they needed me. I knew they needed a name to get whatever else, other money, other actors, and I wanted to do it. It was good for me. It was good for, diversity in my roles, and meeting these young people.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, so smart and so young.
Yeah. And you're far from being done. What's the next big challenge for Jasmine Guy?
Oh, I want to direct, and I want to write. I did write a few things that I need to finish and get out there, but it happened right before COVID, and then I don't know. I got block, but I'm gonna go back and finish those and see if I can get them out there, because I would like to be on the producer side more, and
Hmm.
work with the creatives, but not have to be on the camera. I
Yeah,
think that's what's next if I get those opportunities.
I love it. Jasmine Guy, where can everybody find you on social media?
Oh, I'm on Instagram. I am Jasmine Guy. Love
Oh,
to hear from you.
all right. Jasmine Guy, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much, Keith, and I'll see you soon.